On July 18th, 2018, a young woman laced up her sneakers, turned on her fitness tracker, and went out for a run through the quiet streets of Brooklyn, Iowa. She never came back. What started as just a missing person case quickly turned into a chilling investigation that shook the entire country. This story is seriously going to give you chills. Welcome to the channel, but before we dive in, friends, if you end up liking this video, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like. Alright, let's get started. So, on the evening of July 18th, 2018, Molly Tibbetts put on her sneakers, activated her fitness tracker, then went out for a run through the quiet streets of her hometown, Brooklyn, Iowa. For the 20-year-old, this was, a familiar routine, just a moment to clear her mind, to relish the summer sunset. The thing is, nobody knew that this day would mark the last time she was ever seen alive. When Molly failed to return home, a wave of anxiety swept through the town, which soon gave way to fear. The search for the young woman started right away. It involved the police, volunteers, friends, her family too. But, with each passing day, the hope of finding her alive really began to wane. Beneath all that silence, broken only by, the whisper of the cornfields, lay a harrowing truth. The disappearance of Molly Tibbetts transformed into more than just a tragedy. It ignited this complex investigation that would soon shake the entire nation, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of millions. Molly Cecilia Tibbetts, born on May 8th, 1998, grew up in the small village of Brooklyn, Iowa, the kind of place where everyone knew one another. She was the eldest daughter of Robert Tibbetts. Her mother was Laura Calderon. Molly's parents divorced when she was a child, yet they honestly maintained a warm relationship, despite the changes in the family dynamics. She was raised in an environment just filled with love, with care, sharing her home with her two brothers, an older one named Jake, then her younger brother Scott. Her family, her friends, they described her as an intelligent, cheerful, just a really kind young woman, always ready to lend a helping hand. Molly developed a pretty pronounced love for academics, for sports as well. Her school years were spent at Brooklyn-Gunzie Malcolm High School, where she was, really active in various school events, which included cross-country. In 2017, after graduating, she enrolled at the University of Iowa to study psychology, a choice that, really reflected her desire to help other people. On campus, Molly quickly made new friends. She maintained warm relationships with her classmates, with her boyfriend, Dalton Jack, as well. That summer of 2018 became a time of both relaxation, but also hard work for her. She returned to Brooklyn to work at a summer camp, to spend some time with family. Her days were filled. During the day, she'd engage with children. Then in the evenings, she'd go for the runs that were part of her daily routine. This calm, familiar schedule in a small town where crime was pretty rare, it just seemed utterly safe. Seriously, no one could have anticipated that one of those runs would mark the beginning of such tragic events. July 18th, 2018, began like any other day, really. Molly spent her morning working at the children's camp, later returning home to rest. In the evening, she put on her athletic attire, grabbed her fitness tracker, and set out for her run. None of her loved ones suspected that this would be the last time they would see her alive. So when Molly didn't return home, her family, her friends, they all felt an immediate sense of unease. She was someone with a clear schedule, with habits, which made her disappearance all the more alarming. Those first hours after she disappeared were tense. Her parents, her friends, her loved ones, they all scoured the surroundings, just hoping to find any clue. By morning, it was pretty evident that the situation was serious, which led to her parents reporting her missing to the police. Local law enforcement quickly initiated an investigation. The police established a command center in Brooklyn, coordinating the search operations from there. The search, it escalated quickly. Hundreds of volunteers joined professional rescuers, combing through fields, forests, the roads, within several miles of where Molly was last known to be. People worked day into night, flashlights in hand, just hoping to uncover any trace of her. In the initial days, there were, honestly, very few key leads. The police focused on any witnesses who might have seen Molly on the day she disappeared. Her last departure from home was captured on a neighbor's cameras, but these recordings didn't provide immediate, concrete clues. Molly was seen in athletic wear, calmly walking down the road, heading out for her run. This just confirmed that she had indeed left the house at around 7:30 p.m. A breakthrough in the case came thanks to the Fitbit fitness tracker that Molly wore on her wrist. This device recorded her route, her activity, which could assist in pinpointing her exact location, maybe even the time of her disappearance. The police requested access to this data, collaborating with the device's manufacturer with the cellular providers to trace her phone's whereabouts. Here's the thing, though. The technical process took several days, resulting in this growing anxiety among all involved in the search. Meanwhile, the volunteers, they just continued to work tirelessly. Everyone who could potentially be connected to the disappearance came under scrutiny. Molly's close friends, her family, they were interviewed multiple times. Special attention was given to her boyfriend, Dalton Jack. He provided an alibi. He told them he was in another city working on a construction site. He actively participated in the search too, using social media, posting updates to draw more attention to the case. The press also took notice. The news of Molly Tibbitt's disappearance quickly spread through local, then national media. Photographs of this smiling girl with long dark hair, they appeared everywhere, on television screens, in newspapers, across social media. The hashtag #FindingMolly went viral, uniting thousands of people all across the country who were following the progress of the search. Parallel to these search efforts, the police were scrutinizing footage from surveillance cameras. One recording captured a black Chevrolet Malibu that, appeared to be following Molly along the road. This vehicle became the first significant clue in the case, but at that time, its owner just couldn't be identified. With each passing day, the hope of finding Molly alive dwindled. Her family, though, remained steadfast in their faith. Her father, Robert Tibbets, publicly urged people to continue the search, to pray for his daughter's safe return. He also offered a reward for any information that could help the investigation. Yet, as time progressed, concrete answers remained elusive. For several weeks, Brooklyn, which is typically this quiet, peaceful town, it transformed into the epicenter of search operations, of all these discussions. The events, they shocked the local residents, who found it hard to believe that something so tragic could happen in their small community. Tension mounted, leaving the case of Molly Tibbets to grow increasingly mysterious. In August, nearly a month after Molly's disappearance, the investigation made a significant breakthrough that would shape the course of events. Detectives managed to link the evidence they found to a specific individual, which reignited hope that the truth would soon be revealed. By early August of 2018, the investigation into Molly Tibbet's disappearance was gaining momentum. After several weeks of fruitless searches, the police focused on analyzing electronic data, surveillance footage, witness interviews. Despite the lack of obvious leads, every single piece of evidence was meticulously examined to reconstruct the final hours of Molly's life. A breakthrough happened when the police got access to footage from surveillance cameras installed on one of Brooklyn's streets. The footage showed Molly running along her evening jogging route. The cameras also captured a black Chevrolet Malibu moving in the same direction, seemingly following her. This was the first substantial evidence that allowed the narrowing of the suspect pool. Through image analysis, police determined the vehicle was equipped with unique rims, which could help in identifying its owner. At the same time, the police examined data from that Fitbit fitness tracker Molly wore. The device recorded her physical activity on the day she disappeared, including a sharp drop in activity around 8 p.m., which presumably was the time of the attack. This data, combined with information about the location of her phone, helped pinpoint the area where the crime might have occurred. Detectives concentrated their search on a specific rural area near Molly's jogging route. This information, it became the foundation for what the police did next. The owner of the Chevrolet Malibu was identified a few days after they analyzed the footage. The vehicle belonged to a 24-year-old man named Christian Bahena Rivera, who worked on a dairy farm near Brooklyn. Christian was an immigrant from Mexico, having lived in the United States for several years. He did strenuous physical labor on the farm, was described by his colleagues as a quiet, unassuming individual. Suspicion quickly fell on Rivera, since his vehicle matched the one seen in the footage. On top of that, his home was located close to Molly's jogging route. The police conducted surveillance on him before inviting him in for questioning. On August 20th, 2018, Christian Bahena Rivera was arrested, then taken to the police station for interrogation. Initially, he denied having anything to do with Molly's disappearance, but during a lengthy interrogation, he started to give contradictory statements. When they showed him the footage of his vehicle, Rivera admitted to being near the location of Molly's disappearance that evening. Under the weight of the evidence, he confessed. Rivera recounted that he'd noticed Molly during her run, so he began to follow her. At one point, he got out of his vehicle, attempted to speak with her, but she apparently threatened to call the police. This, he claimed, is what led him to lose control. His account then became fragmented. He said he couldn't recall the details, except that he later found himself in his car with Molly's body in the trunk. Rivera also indicated the location where he left her body, a cornfield on the property of the farm where he worked. These words, they became pivotal for the conclusion of the search. The day after Rivera's confession, the police went to the site he had indicated. In the dense cornfield, detectives discovered the remains of a young woman wrapped in a red shirt that matched the clothing Molly's family had described. An autopsy later confirmed the body belonged to Molly Tibbetts. The cause of death was multiple stab wounds to the chest, to the abdomen. The discovery of the body sent shockwaves through the entire community. Hopes of finding Molly alive were irrevocably shattered. The case now transitioned into the phase of preparing for trial, where justice for the young woman's life would be sought. The news of Rivera's confession, along with the discovery of Molly's body, it elicited a tumultuous reaction. The Tibbetts family expressed this profound gratitude to everyone who participated in the search, yet their grief was immeasurable. Molly's father, Robert, he appealed to the public, asking them to remember her as a joyful, loving person, not just as a victim of a crime. Meanwhile, politicians started using the case to discuss immigration issues, because Rivera was in the country illegally. This whole thing caused controversy, a real division of opinion, which then became the backdrop for the upcoming trial. So the end of the investigation was the beginning of a new phase, the trial of Christian Bahena Rivera, who now had to answer for his actions before the law. After his arrest, preparations began for the trial, which, it became one of the most talked about cases of 2018. The case didn't just catch the attention of the general public, it also sparked a serious a social debate. The community demanded justice for Molly, so every action by the prosecution, by the defense, was closely monitored. The Poweshiek County Prosecutor's Office charged Rivera with first-degree murder. If he was convicted, he faced life in prison without parole. At his first court hearing, Rivera refused to plead guilty. His defense, represented by appointed attorneys, began preparing a case, arguing that their client had been pressured during the interrogation, which meant his confession may have been obtained illegally. The preliminary hearing was held under intense media attention. Prosecutors presented evidence that Rivera's car was spotted at the location where Molly was. His DNA matched the samples found on her body. This evidence made for a strong prosecution case, but the defense challenged the legality of how it was all obtained. The main line of defense centered around the idea that Rivera's confession was basically forced out of him under duress, so it couldn't be used in court. The defense lawyers argued that Rivera was subjected to a lengthy interrogation where his rights might have been violated. They insisted that the confession be excluded from the evidence. On top of that, the defense focused on the fact that Rivera, as an undocumented immigrant, didn't speak English well, which could have led to misunderstandings during the interrogation. The court, it had to decide how convincing these arguments really were. The trial began in May of 2021, almost 3 years after Molly's disappearance. During the hearing, the prosecution presented a whole set of evidence, like a recording that showed Rivera's car traveling along Molly's jogging route. Then there was the coincidence of Molly's location, Rivera's location, at the time she disappeared. Rivera's co-workers reported he was missing for several hours on the day of Molly's disappearance. Despite the defense trying to exclude this evidence, the court found it was admissible. Rivera's genetic samples were found on Molly's body. This evidence created a coherent picture linking Rivera to Molly's murder. In response, the defense tried to create doubt about Rivera's guilt. The main argument was that their client was coerced by the police, that his confession was forced. They also put forward an alternative theory, arguing that Molly could have been victimized by another person, or maybe a group of people. The defense line culminated with Rivera's statement that he didn't act alone. During his testimony, he claimed he was forced to drive Molly to the cornfield by 2 strange men who threatened him, his family as well. This testimony, however, wasn't accompanied by any evidence, which really weakened the defense's case. After 2 weeks of trial, after consideration of all the evidence, the jury proceeded to reach a verdict. On May 28, 2021, after 7 hours of deliberations, Rivera was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Molly's family, the verdict was a welcome end to an agonizing trial. Her father, Robert, said in court that they were grateful to everyone who helped get justice for Molly, but that nothing would bring their daughter back. The trial, the sentencing, it sparked a widespread public outcry. Some people praised the justice system for its swift, thorough work, while others expressed concern that the case had been politicized because of Rivera's status as an undocumented immigrant. Nevertheless, most agreed that the perpetrator received the punishment he deserved. By the end of the trial, the focus shifted to a broader context of how Molly's tragedy could be a lesson for improving security, protecting women, preventing similar crimes in the future. The trial of Christian Bahena Rivera was the final point in the investigation, but the case of Molly Tibbetts sparked a strong reaction in American society, touching on many deep social issues, political issues too. The murder of a young girl in a small town wasn't just a personal tragedy for the family, it was also the subject of fierce debates about safety, immigration policy, the role of women in society. Residents of Brooklyn, Iowa, thousands of strangers across the country mourned Molly's death. After her body was discovered, the city organized memorials to remember her. Residents decorated the streets with ribbons, with flowers. Moments of silence were held at schools, in public buildings. A local church became a place where Molly's friends, her family, they shared memories of her, expressed support for each other. It was important for the Tibbetts family to keep Molly's memory alive, not just as a victim of crime, but as a bright, kind, and ambitious young woman. Molly's parents made repeated appeals to the community, asking that their daughter be remembered not for the way she left, but for the way she lived. However, Molly's case quickly became a tool for political statements. After learning that Christian Bahena Rivera was an undocumented immigrant, some politicians, including then-President Donald Trump, used the case to support tough immigration policies. At rallies, on social media, Trump talked about the case as an example of the need for stronger border enforcement, for a crackdown on illegal immigration. This rhetoric, it just exacerbated the polarization in the community. Conservative groups maintained a focus on immigration issues, demanding stronger measures to deport undocumented migrants. Liberal organizations, on the other hand, pointed to an attempt to use the tragedy for political purposes, making it clear that violence, crime, are committed by people regardless of their immigration status. Molly's family, they tried to distance themselves from the political speculation surrounding her death. The girl's father, Robert Tibbetts, he stated in an open letter published in newspapers that his daughter is not a symbol for anyone's hatred. To use her death to justify xenophobia is just disrespectful to her memory. He emphasized that Molly believed in goodness, in justice, so she would not support that kind of divisive rhetoric. These words, they helped balance the discussion of the case, but public tensions just continued to rise. The tragedy brought attention to broader issues about women's safety, the role of technology in investigations, plus the challenges of small towns where law enforcement capabilities are limited. Honestly, Molly's death became a catalyst for societal change. Educational, social programs were initiated to improve safety in small towns. Charity runs, marathons were organized in her memory, raising funds to support the families of victims of violence. Nationally, her case became this prime example of how data from gadgets like fitness trackers, smartphones, can play a key role in solving crimes. This has sparked discussions about the need to standardize the use of such technology in investigations. The tragedy of Molly Tibbetts reminded Americans of how fragile safety is, even in the calmest of places. Her name became associated in the public consciousness with protecting women from violence, with placing more emphasis on technology, security, than with finding a balance between justice, politics. It seemed that Molly's family, despite the unspeakable grief, managed to turn this tragedy into a lesson for everyone who followed the case. They insisted her life was a symbol of kindness, of inspiration, not political division. Molly Tibbetts' death left a deep mark on her family, her friends, or really the entire country. But despite the tragic loss, her loved ones have chosen to memorialize her by creating initiatives that embody her life values, that help others. It's like Molly's life continued to inspire people even after her passing. After the trial ended, a memorial was organized in Brooklyn in memory of Molly. A bench with her name on it was set up downtown where people could leave flowers. Notes: a memorial run is held annually on the anniversary of her disappearance. It's become a symbol of community, unity, of strength. Participants gather not only in Iowa, but also in other states to run for Molly, remembering her love of sports. Schools where Molly attended have established scholarships in her honor. These scholarships are awarded to students who share her passion for learning, who wish to dedicate their lives to helping others. Molly's family emphasized that the scholarships are a way to support young people who want to make the world a better place. The Tibbets family has launched campaigns to combat violence against women to raise awareness about safety. One such initiative was Molly's Movement, an organization that spreads awareness about the need to protect women in public spaces. It also creates funds to support families who have experienced tragedies. The use of technology to prevent violence was really emphasized. Molly's story emphasized how important data from electronic devices is in solving crimes, so the family encouraged device manufacturers to work with law enforcement to create tools that could save lives. To friends, to family, Molly remained an example of someone who lived life to the fullest, who strived to make positive changes. Her younger brother, Scott, shared in an interview how his sister's death changed his life. He decided to follow in her footsteps by going to university to study psychology, to help people like Molly wanted to do. Dalton Jack, her boyfriend, also shared memories of her. He described Molly as a bright light who inspired everyone around her. He also expressed gratitude for the support he, the family, received from thousands of strangers across the country. Molly's story has continued to live on in the national dialogue about safety, technology, women's rights. Her case has become part of educational programs aimed at preventing violence. Universities, schools have held lectures, workshops that use Molly's story as an example of the need to be safety conscious, to use modern tools for protection. At the legislative level, her name has also been heard. The immigration policy discussion sparked by the Rivera case left a mark on the debate, but Molly's family insisted that her memory should not become a tool in the political battle. Instead, they called for support for programs to protect women regardless of their background. Molly Tibbets has become a symbol of kindness, of strength. Her courses, training on personal safety, emerged in schools, universities, community organizations. The training included strategies for avoiding dangerous situations, using technology to track location, tools to help deal with threats. Some organizations have begun developing mobile security apps that allow users to share their location with trusted contacts or quickly summon help. Amid the public outcry following Molly's murder, a debate began about the need for new legislative measures. While the politicization of the case has sparked controversy, it became the basis for proposals aimed at protecting women. These include tougher penalties for violent crimes, the creation of national databases of missing persons, increased funding for victim support programs. At the same time, discussions about immigration policy have raised questions about the responsibility of employers to check the status of employees. While Molly's family emphasized that their daughter should not become a weapon in the political debate, the case served as the basis for changes in hiring procedures in some states. Molly's family has continued to work to memorialize her. A foundation in her honor helps students in need. It also helps victims of violence. Funds raised through charity runs, donations are used to support educational initiatives, safety programs. The foundation also works with local, national organizations to promote messages that reflect Molly's personal values of helping others, seeking justice, caring for the weak. For Molly's friends, for her family, her life remains an example of strength, kindness, courage. Each of them found different ways to keep her legacy alive. For example, her brother Scott became an active supporter of university safety programs. Then Molly's friends organized charity marathons, social projects to help young people. In an interview, her father, Robert Tibbets, said Molly has always believed that one person can change the world. He said, "She changed their world, so they will continue her work to make a difference in the world." The story of Molly Tibbets is more than a chronicle of one tragic crime. It is a reminder of the importance of community, of mutual aid, and the pursuit of justice. Every memorial, charity event, or educational program created in her memory is a reflection of her spirit for the people of Brooklyn. For millions of people across the country, Molly has become a symbol that inspires us to fight for safety, support your neighbours, never lose hope. Her name is now associated with a movement for positive change that continues to impact the community. Years after Molly Tibbetts' murder, her story remains one of the most resonant tragedies in modern America. Her death changed the lives of many people. It also brought attention to issues that had often been ignored before. It showed that even in the face of tragedy, it is possible to find the strength to unite, to create a better future.